want to have this personal thing on there. Welcome to Speaker Track. And sweet Raylene has just been sharing with us her most tender experiences of waiting upon the Lord and how everything has turned out as it needs to, even though growth opportunities and fiery darts continue. And if I can, a couple of thoughts came to mind, not that I was trying to have thoughts come to mind when you were talking, but this came to mind when you're talking about having to wait and feeling like you just were ready to go, and then you keep being told to rest or like just stop or pause or whatever. That value of the pause, it just kept coming to mind. And I remembered, was it 2 years ago now, that when my little guy goes to his dad's in the summer, he goes for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. This is very personal. And his dad has chosen to not let me see him at all in 7 weeks. And you can imagine, he started this when he was 5, how hard that was for this little guy, how hard this was for me. And then about 2 years ago, I just said, you know what, I'm going to each time I just said, I'm going to consecrate this 7 weeks so that when he comes back to me, I have nothing that I need to do and I'm just focused completely on him. So I would just go like a banshee during those 7 weeks. Well, 2 years ago, I got this clear impression, I want you to rest. And I was like, okay, sure. All right. I'm thinking day or two, no worries. All right. Put my feet up. It's fine. It's good. I'm due. And so I was already raring to go. And then after those couple of days, it was like, oh, no, you're going to rest the 7 weeks. 7 weeks, you guys. For my personality, I cannot even express what that was like, of just like, are we done yet? Are we done yet? And then finally got to the point of, I'm not asking if we're done yet. I'm just going to try to embrace this. But I have to tell you, that was one of the most powerful experiences that I could have had in that resting. And he makes up the difference. So Raylene, do not feel like you've missed anything. Do not feel like you're behind the 8 ball. Do not feel like you're not keeping up with everyone, or that you haven't been doing it what you're supposed to be doing. Not at all. The Lord is not A plus B equals C. He is a quadratic equation that will always turn out. He always does the math. It's divine math, and he will always do it. I think Elder Maxwell calls it divine arithmetic, right? He will always make it work. And I love this. This is from Small and Simple Things, Sister Kathy Christofferson. So Elder Christofferson's wife. And she was talking in the story about small and simple things. And she said, my friend Marlene had 6 children ranging in 5 from newborn to early teens who had full and busy schedules. Her husband traveled all the time. She was dealing with the newborns round the clock need for feeding. And she had all the children that were going places. Her next youngest son had asthma and was prone to serious attacks in the night. So you know how it went. She would get one child settled and then another one would wake, and she'd get them settled and then another one would wake. We're all like, oh, I know how that is. Nothing seemed to change. She was finding it difficult to cope with all the daytime demands placed upon her. Then her prayers changed. And this is a sentence that stuck with me, you guys. She began to pray that whatever sleep she did get would be sufficient for her to perform well the tasks of the following day. She told me that this prayer was answered in the affirmative. She no longer felt tired, even on just a few hours of sleep. While she didn't get the blessing she sought at the outset, she found the one she needed. It was a small thing, but in its own way, most miraculous. And I would just invite you and all of us that we pray that what we give and bring to the table will be sufficient. He doesn't need us to run faster than we have strength. We just need to pray that what we do bring, he can use. And we know this principle is eternal. We know it. Why can't we get it? We feel like we have to be all things to all people. And I struggle with this all the time. But he did the 5 loaves and 2 fishes for a layered reason. He's saying, I can work with anything. Just bring me what you got. I can work with it. So stop stressing. So I just want you to know, this is an age-old battle for us as women. And I just want you to know it's time to rest, and know that angels and others are picking up the slack, and all the people that the Lord wants you to touch, he is giving them preparation and other people to help them to be ready for you when you're ready to do. So anyway, for whatever that, I don't know if that helped at all, but that was something that really stood out to me. And I want you to know and feel that that's how I look at you and see you. You are right on schedule. So anyway, love and adore you, and grateful that you're in a good place and letting your mind and body and the cell memory process what happened at this time of year and all that's been accruing with that, and letting it shed. And so much of the time, in order for our bodies to shed the emotion, it has to rest, because there's so much energy that it takes just to run your body daily and all the daily things. So I so appreciate that you have valued, even if it's been sometimes frustrating, that you valued the rest, and that he can work with you with that, and you can increase that trust in the Lord. Sorry, any other thoughts that anybody wanted to share? I didn't mean to wax long. I love the comments on the side. I love that. Raylene and I are going at a different pace. Yes, that's exactly right. And all paces are valuable.
Well, and we, like Raylene and I talked about this, and she called me a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, you know what, it's okay, because I'm trying to do this at a different pace too. You're not behind. Like, if we have to do this together and we end up sending each other the stuff, and it'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll make it through. And I'm just, because I'm not at the same pace either, and it'll be okay. So she'll have a buddy to do it with, and it'll be good. So
no
I'd
stress.
like to have her as a buddy after every, like, I love Teresa too. Trusha, you're awesome. Just saying, when you certified and everything's done, and I'm still working on it, then it'll be good.
And you guys, there is no race here. We have one of the announcements I was going to make officially is that I think I've said before that we had bumped the certification thing. So I just want to make sure that you have heard it, that we are going to certify mid-January. So don't stress it. If you want to certify earlier, you're more than welcome to. But we are going to do it mid-January, probably even closer to the retreat, because what we'd like to do is officially recognize you the week after the retreat. And that way, new people coming in, they can see you, that you've certified, and share it and enjoy it with you. So that would be super fun. So just know you've got a lot of leeway right now. You've got about 4 to 6 extra weeks that you can get this stuff done. And you've got all the time in the world. You don't need to worry about that. But as far as you wanting to stay kind of in step with, okay, then I'd like to do another track, or I'd like to do the next thing, I just want you to know that's what we're doing. So again, those that are moving quicker, if you want to move quicker, absolutely don't worry and don't wait. But and feel free, WhatsApp me and let me know, okay, I want to do the slower pace, not slower pace. I don't want to call it that. I want to go at an individual pace. Let's call it that. I want to go to more individual pace, and I will certify closer to the next retreat, and let me know that. And then, like I said, I can partner with you guys with each other. So I love it. This is not, I never want you to feel this unnecessary pressure. It's not. We keep a pace to keep things moving so that life still gets in the way, but you guys are still moving forward, but it's never to be a guilt-inducing pressure at all, or stress-inducing. Anybody else for wins and learning? I love this. I've got some things I do want to share with you today, but it's not anything that's major, like I couldn't just record and send to you, so don't stress it. I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but any wins and learning? And then after that, I'm going to ask for any questions. So if you want to do wins and learning, or if you're like, well, I just want to jump into a question, feel free.
I sent you my talk.
Oh, yay. The keynote?
Yeah.
Yay! Nice job. Oh, I can't wait to see it. So excited.
No, I sent you the written version. I'm going to send you the recording separately, but that way you can see the bullet points and all the whatever. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Keep doing that. I love it. Anybody else, anybody need help with the outline of their Keystone keynote? Anybody need help with it? It may be that you're like, oh, I just need time to do it or whatever, but anybody need help with it? Anybody have questions on it? No? Okay. How many feel like they have a ready keynote that it's like 80, 90% ready to go? Ish. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So what I would ask you to do this week is, if you can send me your bulleted outline of your keynote, and then if you can, I know we're getting into December and stuff, but I'm going to keep moving you forward. As a bonus, if you want to send me a part of the keynote that you are feeling like, I think I might need a little bit of feedback on this one, send me a video. It doesn't have to be you dressed, doesn't have to be like good lighting. You just send it to me of You're talking it to me and I can give you feedback if you want it. Okay. So bulleted keynote and then a video segment of a part that maybe you're struggling with or something like that. And then as always, any questions that you have. Okay. I want to know what your questions are. Like maybe you're like, I don't know a good story for this. I'm not sure of a good conference talk. What's a good example to use? How can I pare down my principles because I have like 5, but I only want to do 3 in a keynote? How can I make this more interactive? Whatever those things might be to make this absolutely engaging and stellar, then I would love to know those questions so that I can help you with them. Okay. And as always, you can always mark on me anytime because I want to know what they are. That sound good? Okay. Any other wins in learning? Any other questions or I need some help?
I just want to say, keep going, guys. I have been, my confidence has been shaken in the last 2 weeks, and it doesn't even have to do with work, but it's all shaken up. But and yet so I haven't touched anything in like 2 weeks. And I'm like getting back from vacation yesterday and just feeling like I have to just like clean up the mess. Like I really literally the physical mess and the emotional mess and all of it. And yet at the same time over the last week, I've gotten like, Instagram reels are working for me still. And it's like, things are still moving in the background, and he's like, if you just put things out there, things just keep on happening even when you're like feeling like you can't do anything. So just know that anything you do or have done, it will keep on working for you. And that's a beautiful system that we have in place for us as we're doing these little things. And I've just been like, okay, there's a win. Even when inside I'm like, don't even know how to explain what I'm feeling right now, but shaken, I guess that's all I can say. But I keep on like seeing the little wins happening and going, okay. It will all, I think my father's been teaching me lately how to live in the messy a little bit better. And because he can handle the messy, and he does, and he works in it all the time. And I think my whole life I've been very good at orchestrating so that things aren't messy. And so now it's like, okay, this is a different way to live. Anyway, so.
You sweet thing. I love that you shared that. And I so relate to that preventative way of living, because why would someone want to be, it's so annoying. And so I spend a lot of time and earlier it was for a variety of reasons and pressures, but it became a way of life of preventative. And I agree. I agree that it's sitting with the yuck. It's sitting with it and just like a pig in its muck that just loves it. He just digs down in it and he just kind of goes, I'm finding the happy place in here, right? Finding the happy place until you can get out of that. And I'm so sorry that whatever it is or whoever it is that is contributing to this shaking of your foundation, I want to remind you how strong you are and your foundation is. And I'm not sure what beliefs are being rocked, but I know, just knowing you, I know that you have those core things solid. They are earthquake proof. You know you are a disciple of Christ. You know you are doing good. You know you are making a difference in all that you're doing. And there will always be those who will try to make you feel like you're not making a difference or you're on the wrong path. Or I remember someone close to me saying, if you do what you're doing, you're going to become apostate, and a variety of things, right? And guess what? I'm strong and temple every week, right? And that was 10, 15 years ago, but it rocked my world. It rocked my world. And certain people know the vulnerable places and the vulnerable spots. And I invite you to go back, just like Nephi did standing over Laban, to go back to what you know. Go back to what you know. Go back to the people around you who see you and know you for who you are and what you're doing, and love and support you, and have no other agenda other than what can we do to help you to do what he wants you to do. That's all. So just know we love and adore you. And kind of speaking to that same thing with Raylene, I know we know this cerebrally and we know it spiritually, but Satan is going to continue to pull out all the stops. And just like, oh, I've just read so many of these different prophets for Come Follow Me. I can't remember, is it Nahum? Anyway, that he was wondering why the Lord was sending the Chaldeans to destroy. And he was like, how can you use wicked people for your purposes? Like, I don't get that, right? If I understood that correctly. But the Lord uses and can use anybody and everybody if it's possible to use them. And sometimes the adversary is going to use people who are closest to us or who can have the most impact without them even realizing it, without them even knowing that they're maybe doing something that is a hard or hurtful thing. So all I would say is just know that whether it's for growth and the Lord is giving us opportunities, or it's the adversary with the fiery darts, it's going to come in a barrage. And it's okay, because we have the tools and the armor and the things that we can do to stand fast. I was watching for a few moments this World War II documentary thing, and I usually don't watch them because it's just hard for me to watch. But the strategy, you guys, when it showed the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, they came right out of the gate with this, and it wasn't supposed to be all about that, but they came right out of the gate. And you could feel the vulnerability, like it just, the vulnerability of it all and the betrayal, right? And then you had this feeling of fight back. And people were like, oh my gosh, the Navy is decimated, right? I mean, the loss of life, the loss of ships and all of that, it was just decimated. Guess what? The miracles were still in play. They decimated the battleships. 4 sunk out of 8. 4 sunk, 4 were crippled. But the aircraft carriers, we had 3 aircraft carriers, and those random, he said, just by dumb luck, I'm like, no. They were out at sea doing maneuvers, practice maneuvers. And that one thing saved us, because that's what helped us to get back and then be able to fight back. And Roosevelt gave this impassioned speech that just said, with our righteous might, we are going to fight back and stand strong, and we will see this thing through. You guys, I was on the treadmill and I'm like, yes, like, how are we going to do this? We're going to get in and do it. And trying to remember, hey, okay, there's people that are dying here. Got it. But fighting against tyranny and fighting against people who are taking advantage. And anyway, I'm not suggesting that you go out there with like Joan of Arc, but I'm saying, do not roll over and do not let somebody cripple what you know to be true and what you guys feel called to do, because this is just the first wave and second wave. There are way more waves coming ahead. And every single time, all it will do is make us stand stronger and know more deeply the truth of what it is we're doing. And I can tell you that hands down, doing this for almost 30 years and all the things that have been thrown at me in the scheme of things. So anyway, again, sorry, not trying to wax long, I apologize, but I just want you to know that I feel that with you ladies, that Satan is unhappy with what we are doing, and he is anxious to stop us from doing it. And I'm so proud of each one of you for standing strong in your own way every day, whether it's emotional or relational or spiritual or whatever it is that he's velociraptoring this particular moment. I'm just so proud of you. And I think that's what's so vital about us meeting together in these situations, that we can keep nourishing one another and reminding one another of why we go to battle every single day. And that's what I saw in this documentary. They all bonded and banded together, and everybody got laser focused. And you could tell that people were all in instead of getting a paycheck. They were all in. It was almost Book of Mormonish. It was really amazing. So anyway, thank you for sharing, you guys. Thank you for sharing your hearts. It's just so tender. Any other thoughts that anybody wanted to share?
You were talking about Roosevelt, and I was thinking about Churchill during World War II, you know, and how the British, they talked about how there's this little tiny island, but they wouldn't give in to the Nazis. And he said, I don't remember how many times he said, never, but he said, never, we're never, 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 never
7
going to
times.
give up.
7 times. In fact, he was supposed to give a whole 45-minute keynote. So that's a speaking thought. He was supposed to give a whole 45-minute talk, and he got up and that's all he said. And then he sat down. Never, 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 never give up. Boom, and sat down. Talk about a stellar keynote, right? I love that that's the feel behind what we do. So no matter what spot you're on, creating a keynote, delivering the keynote, finding places to speak the keynote, doesn't matter. The Lord is using you every step of the way. He's not waiting until you're done like a turkey timer. He is using you all the way along. And this process is just as important as you standing on stage as sort of a done deal. Well, I would love to share just a couple of things really fast. Number one, for announcing that Speaker in a Day yesterday. Are you guys excited about that? I am so stinking excited. I can hardly stand it. I like wake up early in the morning with thoughts and ideas, and I have to put my little flashlight on because my little guy will be next to me and I'm like writing down ideas. What we will do for opportunities for you guys is, one is to be there and be able to coach with the women if you want at the table so that you can connect with the women and all of that. The second opportunity is for you to have a booth. Now, my idea at the time is that it's just going to be like, you don't pay for anything as a DTLA. You just come in and, I mean, as a speaker, if you want to come in and you want to like share a booth with each other or share a booth, we'll have a certain number that we can do that are going to be DTL booths. And it's kind of like first come, first serve kind of a thing. So you guys can, we'll figure that out as we go along. The third thing is that you can potentially speak from stage. So there's 2 different speaking opportunities. We're going to have topics that go along with the keynote. Like I said, storytelling, the importance of storytelling, doing a great hook, doing a great service offer from stage, telling your pain points and an ideal life. We're going to go through those chunky pieces of the keynote and being able to give them almost like a short TED talk, sort of a do this, do this, do this. So it keeps their attention and they get it in sort of chewable chunks. So there's that opportunity. You do need to be a certified speaker in order to speak from stage. This is going to happen at the end of February. So ideally February 24th is what we're trying to get a venue for. So you've got plenty of time, no stress. And the other opportunity is we want to showcase, we're going to have them stand and deliver, we'll pull names and they can do a 5-minute speaking showcase, kind of like what we did at the retreat. So when they go up and do their 5-minute, we'd love to give them a couple of examples. So that's another opportunity, is for you to stand and give them a 5-minute, your hook and your first principle, and then chuck in that call to action. So you just got that little 5-minute chunk and it gives them that little Costco sample and they can see how that's supposed to actually go down. So anybody initially interested in maybe participating in Speaker in a Day in any of those ways? Okay. Oh, okay, great. Awesome. Okay, super. And do you have any particular preference right out of the gate of like a 5-minute example or maybe a 20-minute TED talk? Because if so, that would be something for you to consider in your keynote preparation. If you're like, I don't know what kind of keynote I want to do, you could always start working on something like that. But anybody have a preference for anything specific? Just at the outset, like, oh, I'm thinking that 5-minute would be good, or yeah, maybe a TED talk.
I think maybe a TED talk, but I would do the 5-minute thing too.
And it wouldn't matter.
Mm-mm.
Awesome. Okay, what we'll do when it gets closer is we'll put out an application deadline, just like, because we want you to learn and get familiar with what it takes to go and submit for the deadlines, just like we've had you do. You know, you need to submit, you've got to submit either a resume or your speaker one sheet, or you've got to have your talk title, you've got to have your email. We have those examples in the modules in the member vault. of what you can do to email and say, I'm submitting my speaker request, right? My speaker submission. So we want you to keep being in practice of doing those things so that it'll be just like that. It'll be vetting that. And then we will, as a team, as a core council, we'll go through and we'll pick and choose who we think would be the best fit for X, Y, and Z. So it'll be just like a practice run for things like that, which is super important for you guys. Okay. Today I wanted to talk, also the modules. Again, I want to remind you, if you want to check out, Wendy Jones did beauty tips, and I'm going to have Lamira post this in the WhatsApp. Has anybody watched the beauty tips, her makeup tutorial? So good. My gosh. Like, it's just soothing, even just to watch how she just, it's like watching an art painting, like come to life. It's just so cool. I'm like, Wendy, I need you to do my makeup for me every day. So anyway, it's really great. And especially for stage makeup. She does it for every day, but it would look really good for stage stuff or TV or on any kind of a media. So anyway, that's a good one to watch. I'll have her post that. And then there's one that we have from Lita Green. If anybody hasn't watched that, it's You Can Do It. And she talks about her process of being a speaker. It's really fun and it's very inspiring. So I'll have her post that so you can be watching those and kind of keep this top of mind, keep that speaking thing kind of in your blood, so that you're still thinking like a speaker, doing like a speaker, all those things. So, and I want you to know that speaker in a day thing, it really came from this idea of, I want us to have control of finding the women. So like a consistent draw, and we control that water source so that we can find the women who are prepared for the retreats. And we create and own that event. So we're not at the mercy of other people or finding other speaking gigs. So I want you to think about that in your own life. What is a high water source that you can do for securing the speaking gigs that you would like? And again, that goes back to, what organizations do you want to volunteer or be a part of so that you can be in that mix? Because I did NSA and I volunteered for the Speaker Lab, I did not even make the connection until I realized a little bit after that in spring, I talked with a lady about training some of her speakers that were really not that great, that Vibrant Living. You know, I had talked to her about that. Probably shouldn't have used the name. Anyway, a conference. And then the one in fall, when the president talked to me and said, hey, we'd love for you to train our speakers, that kind of seed bedded. And then because I was working on the Speaker Lab and the Speaker Showcase is what it used to be called, then all of that sort of Velcroed together. So does that make sense? I kind of post a note. And then all of a sudden it made this picture in my mind and soul of, we could do an event instead of me doing a master class or individually teaching people in these sort of meetings. I could do sort of more mass, still individualized, but more mass, and let's do it one day. And then we can invite a whole bunch of people. And I'm not just going here and going here and going here. I'm always looking for one-time energy because I'm a mom. So how can I do this one-time energy? So now we can do them 2 or 3 times a year and we can prepare for them. And then it's a springboard right into the next retreat or retreats. So I want you to think like that for your speaking gigs. What would be an ideal water source? What organization could you connect to that you could speak to and you could share with? And you could have these experiences that would actually make it that you're going to create this regular showing up, regular invitation, regular, I'm just a regular with this organization or with this conference or whatever, so that you're asked back every time. Like I'm been lucky to be back with LDS, with Life After Divorce and LDS PMA. So now those are consistent ones and they're asking me consistently. So now I've got, okay, I can plan kind of on that conference for the next one that they're going to do. I know that they're probably maybe going to ask me to speak, so I'll have something ready in the hopper. So does that make sense? I also wanted to share with you that the speaking opportunities can come in the most surprising ways. So again, like what we were saying yesterday, if you can keep speaking in your prayers, just keep it in your prayers. Keep that top of mind and just say, Heavenly Father, I'm asking to look for, to see, and to connect with others for speaking opportunities. Help me to see and find them. We found that when people pray for speaking gigs, that's when they come. It's so I encourage you to put it in your prayers and be as specific as you can, and then say, or something better. So you'll find it in your conversations. You'll find it in like the weirdest of moments that you'll end up having maybe an opportunity. So I go to the student spa in Provo because it's cheap. And I've been going there for 5 years. And they used to have this thing called Melise Wrap. And nobody else really did them. Like honestly, I think I was one of the few people that actually got it, but it was a wrap that would detoxify, and you get wrapped in plastic saran wrap kind of stuff. And you're in this little sort of disposable bikini, and that you would never want anyone to take a picture of you in this state. And you get slathered with this lotion stuff that draws stuff to this top, and then wrapped in saran wrap. And you feel like a turkey that's been, wrapped for leftovers. But honestly, it's like, who came up with this? But I loved it. And they would like massage my hands and my feet. It was so worth it. And it was a student spa. And then I get the Black Friday special. And so anyway, it was so super cheap. Okay. Not many of the girls that came through, they only would do it once in practice. So guess what I'm end up doing? In there, I'm teaching them how to do this Melise wrap. Now, at first, like I worked all week to have this 1 hour and 15 minutes to just rest. And at first, it annoyed me a little bit. Okay. I have to be honest. But then I went, you know what? Instead of giving them a cash tip, this is my tip. I'm giving back, and I'm going to help them know how to wrap it. And I get to know the girls and blah, blah, blah. And so it was fine. It's good. Fast forward, because I'm such a consistent, and the girls, we got to know each other. So they said nice things about me, whatever. Anyway, the owner contacts me and says, hey, we are doing interviews on people who are like our most loyal, most valued customers. And we'd love to do an interview and find out what you like about it and give us your candid feedback, whatever. So we scheduled that. Okay, so I'm gonna make this really fast. In the meantime, I find out from my daughter, who I gave a spa service to, she said, by the way, you've got a bunch on your account. And they didn't tell me, it was a lot. And I kept doing these sales and things like that to get half off. So I didn't know how much was in it. And they didn't tell me. And I was kind of torqued that they didn't tell me, because it was gonna expire. They said, it's gonna expire on this date and you can't use it after that. And I was like, say what? I've been teaching your girls for 5 stinking years. I'm sure we can come up with a compromise. So I reach out to her and leave a very nice voicemail to the owner and said, hey, I'd just like to see if we can come up with a compromise. Would love to chat. So we chat. A couple of weeks, we talk on the phone. And she said, I completely understand what you're saying, and I can see where you're coming from. She said, can I just take a minute and share where I'm coming from? And I said, absolutely. She shared costs, or, their margins are really thin, blah, blah, blah. And I said, totally understand. I said, you know what? I could have been more proactive and found out what was on my account. So totally understand. Because we both handled it in a Stephen Covey win-win way, she was like, what is it that you do? And I started telling her. She goes, oh my gosh, we need to meet. We need to meet. We need to talk. So we're going to lunch next week. And then I did the interview 2 days ago, did it with this gentleman who was doing all the interviews and stuff. And he's like, gosh, he said, if you were to speak to our girls, what would you share with them? So I just started going down what I would share with the girls and what they needed. And he's like, okay. So I just want you to know, like, when we have it top of mind, and when we're in that speaker, I am a speaker. I hope you're saying that to yourself every day. I am a speaker for him. Then your conversations and the way that you will go about life will actually will be threading that loom, so that it will keep presenting these opportunities in the flow, and you don't necessarily have to cold call or cold email people. Does that make sense? So I'm inviting you to think that way. When you're talking with people, when you're pursuing opportunities or something, open your mouth and say, hey, you know what? I talk about that, or I speak about that. So I wanted to share that to make sure that, again, what Amanda says, what you do in the next 30 days is going to yield fruit in the next 90 days. So think about it. Right now, it's holidays. People are thinking all kinds of busy family, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean that we shut down. It means that we can send out our one sheets. That's what Angela Myers is doing this week. She's sending out her speaker one sheets. And so it's right there. It's on top of mind. People are going to be organizing things. They still got conferences in spring to organize and do. So whatever it is that you do, plant those seeds, have that conversation, say that prayer in the morning. Where can I find the speaking gigs, or can they be brought to me? And the Lord has done that over and over for me. I rarely send out things to say, I'd love to speak. They usually come to me. So, and I'm not suggesting you do that. In fact, it's probably not wise for me to do. And that's why we're working on me getting speaking gigs next year, so that I can start funneling them to the DTLAs, so that if I get too many, then I can funnel them to other people. But anyway, it is important to plant the seeds now for the next 90 days. But you don't have to do a lot. I hope I'm making that point. You don't have to do it. It can be in general conversation. It doesn't have to be this, sit down for 2 hours and send out all these things. It doesn't. Just be prayerful about what's the intentional, most powerful, most useful use of my time and energy to be able to hit the sweet spots that are out there, the seeds that are ready to pop. Okay, the other thing I wanted to share too was on the spot speaking. Did anyone get a chance to listen to the module on the spot speaking? Just in case. Great. Any insights, or did you learn anything particular, Jerusha? Don't stress it, you guys. You can listen to it this week. No stress. Don't stress. It's a great thing to just listen to over the next couple of weeks and just what that can feel like and look like. Go ahead, Jerusha.
I just like the idea of being prepared to speak on demand, because that does happen. And that's partly why I wanted to join the speaking track, because when I'm put on the spot, that's not, usually my mind just goes blank. So I just would really like to be able to say, oh yeah, if you call on me, I'm ready.
I love it. And give an answer. And that goes back to your Keystone keynote, you guys. You have that hook story that you know backwards and forwards, and then you have at least the first principle, right? But if you know your 3 principles, you guys, you can speak anywhere, anytime about anything. And then on those 3 principles, if you just have a story that goes with each of those 3, you are ready to speak on any podcast interview, on any TV, on anything on the spot, standing in the grocery store. You are ready because you have your hook, and then you have that pain point. I was X, now I'm Y. And then you have your 3 principles of your signature solution of how you did it, or at least give a Costco sample of that signature solution. And the call to action is like a no-brainer. People hearing, how did you go from here to here through storytelling of how you did that with those principles? It's so amazing to listen to, and you're like on board. People are on board with it. So I really encourage you to think in terms of that 3-point Keystone keynote in all that you do. So for example, when I do Studio 5, I thought I would kind of take you through, since it's kind of, I wanted to go along the lines of on the spot speaking. And so I don't know, maybe that wouldn't be helpful if you haven't listened to the module. Would you rather I do that next time? Kind of take you through the back end of Studio 5 and what it's like to do TV and radio and stuff?
I'd like to hear it.
I think it's
Okay.
fine to go now. Sure.
Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to give you the lay of the land, and then I'm going to give you some tips and tools that maybe will be helpful, radio or TV or whatever, just on media where you have to do it like this and do soundbite kind of stuff. So to do Studio 5, what happens is first you apply, you email them and say, I have this thing, and you prove to them, hey, I am a good bet, because it's a trade. You don't get paid to do Studio 5, and it's a trade. The spot is worth about $1,500. So it's a sweet, juicy spot. They get into, I think it is 90,000 homes. It's anywhere from 50, 60 to 90,000 homes. I think maybe it's lower now, maybe it's 60,000 homes. But that means for every home, it counts like X amount for how much reach they actually reach. So it's like the same thing when they get an email from one person, actually represents like, I don't know, 5,000 people or something like that in the scheme of percentages. Anyway, you email and you submit and you show what your thing is, why it's unique and different, why it fills a need, why the audience will be able to be benefited by it, and then your reach, why your social media, why your pipeline, your opt-ins, your downloads, how you have all of that in play. So you have this as a benefit for the audience, right? And they are mostly looking for unique aspects that haven't been tapped into. Like they're doing this Nana thing now that hasn't really been tapped into. So anybody who's doing something like that, on board, right? So you want to find that and get start up with that. You can be a typical, like a one-time contributor. You can be, that's usually their sponsors. People come in, they pay for the spot, they come on, it's a sponsored spot. You can be a regular contributor, which is I am a regular contributor, or you can be a core contributor. And that's like Mount Townsend and Liz Hale. I used to be a core contributor, but I just couldn't keep up the pace. So I just dropped down to just once a month, which was so helpful for me. And you can do it, generally speaking, as much or as little as they desire, or like me going to them and saying, look, I can only do once a month and I can just leverage the heck out of it and it still works the same. So that's kind of how that beginning part works. On the actual getting ready for your segment, they will either choose a topic for you or you submit topics. So I'll submit sometimes like 3 different topics that I'd love to speak on in the next quarter or whatever. Or sometimes if I'm really behind the 8 ball, then they'll send me and say like this 5 holiday mantras. They send it to me and said, hey, would you be willing to speak on 5 holiday mantras? And I'm like, you bet. And then I go and get information from women. I put it out as a poll. I go and research some things, or I go through my notes of things that I think would be great for women and then come up with the content. Then the content, and there's an example in the member vault. In order to come up with the content, it's up to me to create a little outline. And guess what outline I use? It's like a Keystone keynote. it has the main message. What is the main goal of the segment? And I'll say, getting through the holidays. But we want to do more than just get through the holidays. We want to experience them. So here's 5 simple mantras to keep in your mind so that you can keep the peace, love, and joy and experience the season, right? That's the main goal. And so I put main message. And then underneath that, I put my 3 to 5 points. Now, I only usually do 3 because the segments are generally speaking 4 to 6 minutes, sometimes 7 minutes. So they're super short and it goes really fast. So again, oh, you're so sweet. It's super important that the way you share your story is not long-winded. It needs to have enough detail and enjoyment and fun that people are engaged, but you can't go off on long-winded roads, because what you'll see is Brooke will go like this and she'll start nodding intently with me. And that means we're running late, so we need to move it up, right? And yeah, so, and oftentimes it's not even that what I'm saying is like boring. It's like, they've just told her, oh, we got to cut 30 seconds off or whatever. She's got an earpiece and she is hearing from the producer all the time. So that's why sometimes she'll give me like, she'll raise her eyebrows at me, or she'll just kind of nod, or she'll start talking a little bit over me. And that tells me, oh, we don't have much time. So I've got to just do it super fast. So as a contributor, you've got to be watching this kind of stuff all the time. Once I get my content, I'll send this into the assistant producer. For me, her name is Harley. I'll send this into the assistant producer and I'll just bullet point. I'll bullet point, this is the first principle, and then I'll put a star or a bullet point or something underneath, and it will say, this is the principle, like for the holiday mantra, it's building character. And then I'll say one little sentence. This is for when kids need to plow the driveway, clean the house for the family party, blah, blah, blah. It's just one sentence that defines that. Then I bullet underneath, story about my son getting drenched with the neighbor's sprinklers when we stealth neighbor secret Santa, whatever. And then underneath that, maybe I'll have a quote or a picture, and I'll put that in a bracket and I'll put it in caps, quote, and then I'll put the quote so they know they need to do a quote card. Or I'll put, I have pics for this. Do you want any personal pictures of this in that bracket? And then I'll do the same thing for the second point and then the third point. And then the last thing I do is I put promo. And then at the end, they want to know what it is I'm promoting. So I'll say, we got a retreat coming up. You absolutely want it, blah, blah, blah. Or we have this download, this free download, and you're welcome to do blah, blah, blah. And it's generally this opt-in or download. What do you think it's going to be about? Something from the segment, right? It's going to align with what I just talked about in the segment. So yesterday's segment, I did, we have a retreat coming up. Now you better believe I'm practicing that like a boss so that it's super short, because I want them to know the retreat. It's coming up. It's for women who want to be influential speakers, writers, and a media presence for him. And it's going to be fantastic and life-changing and all of that. Well, I can't say all of that because we're at the end of the segment. And I can tell you right now, they don't want you emphasizing the promotion. They want it to just be a quick nod, right? So I just had to practice super fast. Next retreat coming up, it's for women. We help women be influential speakers, writers, and media presence for him. I can't remember what I said, Katrina, but I practiced it in one sentence so that it was probably 5 to 7 seconds long, period. It was so fast. And then I lead them to the website. It's all on the website, ConnieSokol.com. And I even actually said ConnieSokol.com twice, which was a little bonus. But anyway, lead them right to something simple, because what happens is a lot of times women are doing laundry. They're walking in and out when they're doing Studio 5. That's the research that they've seen, cooking something or whatever. So if they're hearing it, you want to make sure they hear something simple, ConnieSokol.com, something like that. So that's the information that I send it to them. And once they approve it, meaning they don't approve it anymore, they're like, yeah, it's great. And then they just send me back the script. So what happens is, and I'll show you, not now, but I'll show you another time of what a script looks like, but it has like all the things of like graphic, and then sometimes it has the camera angle or things like that. And they'll let me know if I'm going to be on home set, which means the chairs, or if we're going to be at the table or whatever. Usually I don't find that out until I get there. So that's just the script that they'll send back, and I've got to follow that script. So it won't have my information on there. It will just have a lead in for Brooke to be able to start that questioning, and then I'm to supply the rest. Does that make sense? So I got to know my stuff before I go. And you better believe when I'm driving up to Salt Lake, I am memorizing it and I am practicing it, and I'm getting it down. I'm looking at my clock and I'm seeing, can I get it down to 6 minutes? Can I get it down to 5 minutes? Because then I want to talk slowly, and I want to have time for us to banter back and forth a little bit so it's conversational and I don't just go blah, 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 ding. That's super boring. So that's the beforehand. And then once I've got that, they give me my call time, generally speaking, a day before, maybe 2 days before, but it's not really until before. But I know somewhere between 10:30 and 11:30 is going to be my call time. That means you need to arrive there. If my call time is 10:45, I need to be there at 10:30. I need to make sure I'm there 15 minutes even before my call time, which means I'm 15 minutes before I'm actually going on at 11. So lots of times traffic and all kinds of things, you do not want to miss your call time. It's so unprofessional. So be there early. I'll just go early and I'll work on stuff while I'm waiting and practicing. Usually I'm practicing because I'm running behind, right? And when I get there, I check in with them and then I go into the green room. And it's like a locker room, small room, like maybe just the size of a small bedroom. And it has the lights, you know, the big lights you can flip on, the movie lights. And it has a 3-way mirror so you can see behind and front and a place to hang your stuff and things like that. And then to finish doing your makeup. So you can stay in there and get all ready. And then you go out to the actual green room, which is where all the guests sit and wait. So we just wait out in this little seated area before you go into the actual studio. And then when they call me, they put my microphone on, make sure you wear something you can hook onto the collar or hook onto your pants or whatever. And sometimes if I don't have something, I'm sitting mostly in the home set. So they'll just put the microphone sitting right next to my bum and then just thread it through. So I don't have to have anything. I don't have to worry about it. So they'll put me on the home set while Brooke's talking to another guest. And you can imagine the set. And there's the big 2 cameras. And then she's maybe at the table talking with the guest. And I have to walk in quietly. And hey, how you doing? How you doing, Jeff? And then I have the AP, the assistant producer. I give her my phone and I say, can you take a couple of pictures? So she can take some fresh pictures for me while I'm sitting on set. Then I sit on set. And then they give us about 30 to 45 seconds. Brooke and I go, how you doing? How's the kids? How's it all going? Blah, blah, blah. We laugh, we joke. Yeah, this is what happened on the way in, blah, blah, blah. And then they go 10 seconds to start or 10 seconds to from commercial. And then because we're taping, it's not live, we're taping, but that's what's going to be put in between. And then she'll start and she'll welcome. And it's a 2-shot, which means I'm sitting, but you can't at first see me, but then it will pan out to me being a 2-shot. So I make sure that I'm sitting, little tip for you, you cross your legs so that your toe is facing out and you sit as close in the corner of the chair as you can. So it makes you look the skinniest because it makes it look like the chair is super big and you're super small. That's a tip. So you do that and then you check in the monitor. How are you looking? You ask the AP to make sure your hair is not sticking out in the back because they'll do a side shot and then they'll do a front shot. So you make sure your hair is nice and done in the back and not bumping out. And you cross your legs and you can bring your paper if you want, but I encourage you to not bring it unless you absolutely need it. Or sometimes I have a quote that I have to read, so I'll just keep it there if they don't have it up above. It's not bad. Brooke has her papers and other guests have their papers too. It's just better if you don't need it. But if you do, just keep it one page and keep it just sitting right there on the thing so that you just discreetly look at it when she's talking. Does that make sense? You don't want to be seen looking at your paper. It's super unprofessional. So once you've done the segment, and then the first thing I do when I sit down, I ask, how long is the segment? That's the first thing that I ask. And then I give her any tips. Like this last time, I said, just so you know, they told me last minute, they wanted me to add another thing in for Nanas, an experience with Nanas. So on point 4, on mantra 4, I'll set it up by saying, well, there's a couple of examples here so that like she's going to remember any little thing that I say. So I have to set it up, right? And I can say, well, there's a couple of examples, and that gives her a heads up that not to jump on to the next point after I'm done with my one little example, that I've got another one and I can keep going. Does that make sense? So you want to communicate with that host and let him know, or say, okay, on the end, I really need to do that promotion. So if we're running late, just go ahead and skip this last point and let's go right to the promotion. So give them a heads up of how that needs to play. And then when I'm done, sometimes like this last time, she had to continue talking while she was walking to the next set. So we didn't even get to say goodbye. But most of the time we'll just wrap up and then we'll give each other a love and say, thank you, so good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And then give back your mic. So many times people have walked out of the building and they've got their mic, or they go to the bathroom. Do not go to the bathroom once you're mic'd. So go to the bathroom first before you get mic'd, because people have done that over and over and it's embarrassing. All right. So that's that. And then afterwards, you want to make sure and post it on your social media, tag them in it, say, thank you so much. just really making sure that you kind of round that all out. And I noticed this last time, they put it on their stories. I made a comment on it. They commented back the nicest thing. And it was just so super sweet and just a lovely exchange that keeps them feeling like, hey, she's a good contributor. We want to keep having her back. And I am in my 17th year with Studio 5. Can you believe that? I can't even believe it. So again,
did you say that some people pay for their spot on Studio 5? Is that pretty common practice that they?
That's how the show is funded. That's how the show is funded. Most of the spots on there are sponsored. So and it's perfect advertising because they get into so many, oh, you bet, Lovey. Oh, and I know we're over. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's how they pay for their show. It's through all those sponsors, right? So to get a spot on that, because that's their target market. They reach so many, and you get the credibility of Studio 5. That's huge. And I will let you know, if you can find one like Studio 5, now I, of course, am biased, but even Channel 2 and Channel 4, there is a different feel to Studio 5, I will tell you. And Studio 5 is super careful about their contributors. If you notice on there, most of us have been there since the beginning. I came on in like the year 2, even though season 17 is starting next fall. Is it next fall or is it already started? I can't remember. Anyway, I came in, they had already started the first year. And so I came in and I had just had my baby, my sweet Sophie. But you'll find that they are very loyal and you want to work with people like that. They've had emails about Brooke's teeth are too big all the time. And she used to be at a co-host thing with Darren, what's his toes. I don't know if you guys remember that from back in the day. Anyway, they would always say, Darren is annoying, blah, blah, blah. Please get rid of him. They would not. Until finally it was a different fork in the road. And he'd been on there for, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years or something like that. Anyway, and so he was doing something else. So, and yeah, women tell me, they see me on there all the time, once a month, and we leverage the heck out of it. But getting in with a gig like that is so key. And like I said, they're so particular. They do not want people being unprofessional, buzzing in with this scattered energy. They work with people who are on it and professional, and they're warm and they're kind. It really is a most amazing group of people to work with, especially in the media industry. And they've let me get away with kind of a lot of stuff like prayer, talking about God and things like that, because it's KSL, right? But still, they still have to honor that their audience is not just Latter-day Saints at all. So anyway, it's been amazing. And that I would start looking for that. Look for that same thing. A great place to start with that is Studio Chatter right here in Spanish Fork. And your city probably has something that's like a local TV station. It's a great stepping stone to start with that. It gives you good film footage. And Studio Chatter down here in Spanish Fork has a setup that looks a lot like, I mean, on a small scale, but looks like Studio 5. It's very professional. It has that back screen and everything. So it's a great way to get started and just kind of get your chops on doing the kind of TV media. So again, looking for those kind of bookending what we were talking about, looking for those opportunities that are high water source. Who do you want to connect with? What organizations, what media, who do you want to kind of partner up with, so to speak, fill the need that they have and keep filling that need so that they keep having you back. And it's just this built-in high water source. They're going to keep having you and you can count on it. It's just a really great way to go about it. Any questions or any thoughts? And you did great. And you know what? It helps you with anything on. And if you get a spot on Good Things Utah or Channel 4 for Utah or whatever, that's so great. That is so great. So don't take that I'm saying that.
No. I mean, honestly, I did fine for what I knew. There are just some things that you pointed out that I was like, oh, yeah, I could have done that. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about, like, you know what I mean? Like, but you live and you learn. But
oh yeah.
But I mean, it was fun. And really, as you went through the whole thing, I was like, yeah, that's about it. Like, it's just like in there, out, like, and they're just going. And like, I had like 2 minutes or like maybe 1 minute, 30 seconds to kind of like, okay, I know the host's name at least. Okay, let's start talking. And anyway, so yeah, but
that's exactly it. And have fun with it. You know,
that is fun.
They want personality, and that's the ones they bring back is the ones that can have the personality that goes through the screen, right? That is connecting with their audience. I shouldn't be on Studio 5. I don't have this huge following. I don't have the markers that they're looking for in that sense. But they have told me that for whatever reason, like they told me this flat out, they said nice things, but then they said, just so you know, in our surveys, people have said they don't even like need the information that you're sharing. They're like, not even that stage of life. This is like 5 years ago. They're not even that stage of life. They don't even need it, but they watch you because they like you. Like for some reason, they connect with you. Like take it with a grain of salt, you guys. But I'm just like, wow. First of all, I'm like, okay, thanks. Like they don't even need you, but they'll still listen to you, right? So that compassion, that personality, that what you bring to the table is huge. So if you can fill a need on top of that, like that's perfect. If you have that ability to be, well, thank you so much. That I wasn't, anyway, just think about that, of the way you come across. You don't have to be all warm and engaged. Just be your signature self. And that's what they're looking for. Like I look at Diane and I'm like, oh, she's so credible. She's funny. She's down to earth. And when she speaks, you know that what she's researched is just going to be spot on, right? Same thing. Jerusha, you speak with this wry sense of humor and then you move on. You're not waiting for people to laugh at it. Your wry sense of humor, you made it a point and you moved on, and people can be like, oh, and chuckle and get it, right? Katrina, you have a passionate way of delivering things. People know you know your stuff, that you walk your talk, that you really do know this is the best way to go about things. So you create this sense of trust. And that we know is just the number one huge thing. So anyway, just think about that. Your media, what's a media match for you? What's a good organization, a good media, something like that. So not just speaking on stage, but speaking in this on the spot way. What radio show could you hook on with? What things can you guest on? What podcast can you be on? And keep that same keynote thing and speaking in those catchphrases, those water cooler moments, those stories that are signature where somebody could say, oh, I like the sprinkler story, right? They can remember these moments rather than necessarily just all the 3 points that you were getting across. They're just going to have a pulse that they remember, but that's important. All right. I'm so sorry. It's 10:40. It's like 10 minutes over. You're like, I need to schedule something after this so that I don't go over, because I just love hanging with you guys. You like how we actually have things to do as well. So yeah, love you. Love you, ladies. Keep me posted. And homework reminder again, send me a bulleted keynote if you can. A video segment of any rough spot that you want any help with or any questions. Mark me with any speaking thoughts if you need them. The modules are the beauty tips from Wendy Jones, the You Can Do It from Lita Green, and on the spot speaking. Those are the 3 modules that Lamira will put on WhatsApp for you. Let me know anything that you need. All right. And if you can in the WhatsApp, set your speaking goal for December, not just for the week, just for December, because we know how it is. So December, what's your goal for December? All right. Mwah. Love you ladies so much.